All right, we have this story from Axios Phoenix. Lake declares victory in Arizona GOP primary, says outstanding ballots will favor her. With at least 150,000 votes left to count, Kari Lake declared victory Wednesday in the Republican primary for governor, while rival Karen Taylor Robson stayed mum throughout the day. Lake led Robson by less than 2 percentage points as of Wednesday morning, but the remaining ballots, which are largely early ballots that were dropped off at polling places on Election Day, are expected to expand her lead. Okay, they say the AP hasn't called the race yet, but look, even though they're early ballots, they're still saying it's likely going to be for Kari Lake. But let me show you this. Let me see if I have the maps here. Check this out. Did we just get an update? I think we just got an update literally. No, or maybe it's a graphic.
That's still 80%. It's been 80%.
Oh,
okay. Is this the New York Times? They've been calling it 80% all day.
Yeah. Take a look at this. Right here, we can see Taylor Robson in Maricopa. She's got it, but the rest of the state is for Kari Lake. How is it this close? I think there's a simple answer. Democrats are voting as Republicans in the Republican primary.
And
it's certainly possible. I mean, why not do a crossover?
But then they're not going to be able to vote Democrat in the Democratic primary?
Well, the Democratic primary was today, too. And if you scroll up, if you look at the Democrat primary, what was it? Katie Hobbs? Yeah. Katie Hobbs had all of the state except for, was it Santa Cruz County there at the bottom?
Santa Cruz County.
Yeah, that's it. So it's not like there was a big contentious race on the Democrat side.
It's
so
almost,
if you were gonna,
it's a question of like if they think it's more effective to try and put a more extreme candidate in office. We've all talked about this. They think that they can beat Kari Lake later. These
notes.
Yeah,
it's a better gamble to vote in the Republican primary, I guess. I mean, not all states have open primaries like this, and some, if you're registered as a Democrat, you can only participate in the Democratic primary.
That's true in New York. Yeah,
it's true in New York. It's true in Connecticut. Nevada, I think, is changing this law, and the idea because they're talking about like rank choice instead.
Ranked choice voting. Yeah, we have ranked choice voting in New York City, but you can still only vote in your designated party primary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. With these people, if they now. Like, are they still registered Democrat while they're voting in the Republican primary?
No, you have to change your registration, most likely.
Can they do that, like, and then the next day change it back? Or are they stuck for a year as, like, a Republican now?
I don't know what the rules are about registering. That's, like, such local stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, there's huge variety. Some places you have to be registered
for a certain period of time prior to.
Like, before you know who the candidates are?
No, they've known who the candidates are for a long time. Kari Lake was running for governor starting in January. So I think you probably could have changed it before.
It's an open primary in Arizona.
It's an open primary.
Yeah. So even if they're registered as a Democrat, they can participate in the Republican primary.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
That is
Maybe we
crazy.
shouldn't allow that.
Yeah, I don't know why would you have that? Why
the argument against it is typically that independents can't participate in the primary. So Nevada has a high proportion of independent voters, and they think leaving the closed primary system would be better because they would be able to participate in narrowing down the candidates earlier on.
Take a look at this. Over at the New York Times article, you can see 482,113 votes in the Democratic primary, 637,210 in the Republican Party. But for some reason, it's the Maricopa area that's gone for Karen Taylor Robson and not Kari Lake. Maybe it's crossover. I'm not entirely convinced. It may just be moderate-leaning Republicans are like, we don't want the MAGA stuff. So
that's probably true, yeah.
Right. In the cities, they're more moderates.
Well. Yeah. I mean, but are these people going to come out for Pence? Isn't he talking about making a run now?
I don't know about that.
He's the milkiest of the milquetoasts, you know.
But I'll add this. If these numbers are correct and that it's 637,000 Republicans came out to vote, Democrats are in serious trouble. Mm. If it's true that Democrats switched over, because we've seen that reported in other instances, then Republicans are going to be blindsided. Because how many of these would you need to take away? You take away 100,000 of these votes, and then all of a sudden the Democrats are winning.
Yeah.
Or not quite. Or they would be winning. I don't believe that 100,000 people came out and were Democrats voting to sabotage Kari Lake. It's possible. I think it's probably just simply put, urban conservative types are middle of the road. But I still find it hard to believe that.
And we might have seen like the, Arizona Democratic Party making the suggestion. People aren't good at keeping these kind of secrets. So if it was a suggestion, we would have seen it on social media already.
I mean, look, Meghan McCain's got fans, and she was ripping into Kari Lake.
She was so mad about it. But the other thing is that I pulled the real Clear Politics poll numbers, I mean, Kari Lake has been popular. She has been leading the polls for several weeks at this point. So in some ways, you know, maybe people did cross over. And on the other hand, you would assume there'd be some indication that she is maybe more popular than Arizona is willing to admit to itself.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if they're polling people, you get a phone call and you're like, who are you voting for? Someone who hates Kari Lake is going to be like, not Kari Lake. But someone who's crossing over to sabotage Kari Lake will contribute to a vote against her. So, you know, if they get called up, it's a Democrat, are you voting for Karen Taylor Robson? They're going to say, no way. But they do vote in the primary to sabotage Kari Lake.
I bet someone could be, I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm going to vote in the Republican primary for the crappier candidate, and then I'm going to switch back and vote for the Democrat in the general.
But this is an open primary.
Take a look at this story.
I guess, if it's an open primary, can you show up and say you want one ballot instead of another? Or is everybody on the same ballot?
I don't know.
That would be weird. How would they prevent you from voting twice?
It could explain why a bunch of well, here's the other issue too. Now, this is the weird thing. People are pointing out, like, it's very strange that Kari Lake was doing so well in the polls. What about every other candidate in Arizona? Look at this. Blake Masters wins swimmingly. Mm-hmm. So all of these Trump-endorsed candidates sweep through with no questions. But then Kari Lake is, and it's not just about Arizona. It's like all of these states. Gibbs in Michigan, I think it's Michigan, right? Trump-endorsed wins. With the help from Democrats, mind you.
A lot of help from Democrats.
That's so weird.
That was so interesting because they were putting in money. Democrats were putting money in to get Gibbs the victory there. And this is the strategy. I was listening to this podcast today, the New York Times podcast, actually, about how Claire McCaskill was the one who really pioneered this strategy of essentially picking the candidate that she wanted to run against and then putting up ads that made that candidate popular to the far right. So she looked at the spate of candidates in Missouri, decided that she wanted to run against this one guy who seemed crazy, who eventually ended up being the one who said that if a woman is raped, she can shut that down and then not get pregnant. Remember that guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Their body has a way of shutting that down.
Right. Because of course, sure. You know, every woman knows that. You've got like a trap door. Yeah.
A trap door.
This is basic human biology. Right? I don't know what you guys are talking.
If you see Star Wars, you know.
Guys, you know, for some guys.
Those medieval monks were correct with the teeth. You know, you can shut it down.
Is that what they...
Sorry. You remember the medieval monks?
I remember.
No.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome, though.
You guys, we were in a different health lesson, I think. Separated by gender.
I did see that movie, Teeth.
Oh, God, no.
Have you ever seen it?
Actually, in a play that I wrote this one time, one of the characters said...
How are we talking about this now?
Anyway, this
Kari Lake made us do this.
This one character, she said, if I had teeth down there, I'd have bit his hand off.
Have you ever, there's a movie called
Anyway,
Teeth.
please me that.
And this woman goes to the doctor, to like the gyno, and he's like, let me just check you up. And then his hand gets mutilated and he's like, vagina dentata. And there's like, and then she's like, yeah, that's the movie. It's like, I guess, a horror movie.
I had a friend who was obsessed with that. And he also would, that's a totally different story. Anyways, it was Claire McCaskill. And she went with this thing. And she was running ads that was like, you know, this person is really opposed to this. And she made him really popular to the far right. And that is a strategy that they used to pump Gibbs. And also, we all remember when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, and everyone was like, oh, it'll be great if Trump gets the GOP nomination because Hillary Clinton will have no trouble beating him. You know, this is a stupid maneuver, guys. You know, like, go with your values.
That's what made it so...
Try and run people you believe in who you think would be positive and good leaders for our country.
Absolutely not.
This is what
that's against the rules.
November of 2016, one of the greatest years ever, was just seeing the establishment have everything implode. The panic, the crying.
It was insane.
It was like Schadenfreude, but just like the most dense, hyper concentrated, straight into the vein, intravenous Schadenfreude, watching all these people lose their minds.
Yeah. I will say I was one of the sad people, and I went to Whole Foods. No, I went to Fairway. I went to Fairway in Brooklyn the next day, which is this like extremely yuppie grocery store. And there were people crying, like sobbing as they were picking out their frozen vegan waffles. And then Sweet Home Alabama came on, like over the PA system. And this older woman walked up to like one of the people who worked there and said, Now, I really think this is in very poor taste. Can we at least change this?
My stepmom has this story
so
about
good.
dropping her kids off at Montessori like school or whatever, and these moms sobbing, and one is like, "Does someone have a snack to give to Jim? Like I couldn't pack one this morning." You're like, "Girl, get it together."
It feels like
You can still feed your kids. But I remember people calling out of work with like sadness, just calling
Like
out.
going into mourning, it was
Right.
crazy.
But I remember
For me, I
watching
was
those.
having a good time.
Yeah.
It was wild to watch
Cassandra,
the results come in and
Cassandra
realize
Fairbanks
what
was
was
crying.
going on.
yeah.
Cassandra was crying, but for the other, she was crying
Yeah.
with tears of joy.
Crying of joy.
So, I was hanging out with her, and it's fun to reminisce about some of the greatest days in human history, right?
Yeah.
But
November 2nd, 2016 is one of them.
no, was it? No, it was
Fourth?
it was the 11th.
Was it
No, it was
the-
the 9th. It was the 9th.
What do you mean?
November 9th is when Trump won.
Was that when it was?
Wasn't
Why do
wasn't
I
it the
think it was
7th?
the?
I
It
thought
was
it was
some. It
November
was
9th.
early November. We can agree it was before the
It was a
15th.
cold day in hell.
What day was
November 8th.
8th?
There we go.
November 8th.
Everybody's wrong. I'm
What?
happy.
No, but the 9th was when they called it for him. The 9th is when he was.
Was it?
They did declare after midnight, so Tim is technically correct here.
It was like
No,
2
I'm talking
a.m.
about
in
everybody
LA
crying.
or
It's November
something.
9th, the
Yeah,
greatest
everyone
day.
was crying on the
morning.
night.
Okay, so I'll take technically correct. But it reminds me of that meme where the two women go like, and the guy just goes, yeah. You know that one I'm talking about?
No.
There's like two women, and they look at something, and they're like shocked, and the guy just starts laughing and smiling. That's what it was like. I didn't vote for him, but it was just like to see Hillary Clinton just see everything that she's ever wanted taken from her, and she's just an awful person.
It was
Just,
wild,
it was so amazing. It was euphoria,
Yeah. It was totally crazy. I remember how many people around me were just like, it was completely divided is what I remember. Even people who weren't that political were suddenly like, I don't know what's going to happen to the country. And the people I had no idea were in any way interested in politics also being like, this is the best thing ever. Like, I had no idea.
So bringing it back to where we are now with, like Kari Lake and all that stuff, now I'm just like, okay, look, I voted for Trump in 2020. I think school choice was really, really important. He was all about it. And looking now at Arizona with Kari Lake, the possibility is that the whole system is completely imploded. I mean, like Democrats. So look, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution wrote, Democrats are voting in GOP primaries, say it's all about Donald Trump. This article talks about how, 16,000 voters who chose Democratic ballots were among the 237 who voted in the GOP primary. Now, it's possible, I argued, they just switched parties. They've abandoned the Democrats. That's a reality, right? Maybe what we're seeing in Arizona is that tons of Democrats are like, I don't want the Democrats. I don't want the MAGA. And so they are legitimately trying to vote Republican. And it's more left-leaning people joining the Republican Party. The same time, Democrats are funding Trump-endorsed candidates. So the Democratic officials are propping up Trump's endorsed candidates while the voters are voting for the other moderate Republican candidate or whatever they want to call him. It's just the whole system is busted.
Oh, we watched it. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's just like Larry Hogan got really mad about this too. He was like, Democrats are funding.
Right.
I mean, it was like it was like over $1 million
It's like
got funded.
1.2 million or something.
Right. They got funded in, and he was like, this is Democrat interference in our election. Like this is not good. And I don't think that it matters to them. Like, even if the strategy is, you could argue, what got Donald Trump elected, which I don't think it is, but it played a role in some ways. It's not working for them. I don't understand why you would keep doing it.
Well, we did watch them change the rules, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was after the 2016 election, and we watched everyone freak out because Trump had won and decide that this was a huge crisis, and that now it didn't matter what you had, what you did, so long as you were resisting. Remember, resist? And it was like, I remember watching that, and I was like, resist what though? You guys, like, what is it that we are
Doesn't
going
matter.
to resist?
Irrelevant.
Or like with Obama, change. Well, what do you want to change, really? And what do you want to change it to? Like, define your terms so that we can actually talk about what's going on. But with the whole resist thing, it was anything Trump did was completely wrong and had to be stopped at all costs. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they proceeded that way through now.
I had friends tell me that using like violent fascist tendencies against your enemy, if Trump for whatever, was fine. I'm like, dude, that's insane.
Right.
You cannot take on evil and become evil to destroy evil. You're just creating more of it.
But that's the decision that was made, was that this is a crisis. Rules don't matter. Common decency doesn't matter. We have to give up the ways that we've behaved up to this point. That was what they did.
I'm just so tired of all the people that cried when Donald Trump won. Those are the people that I am sick of. And you know, like Tucker Carlson pointed out when I think it was Ben Smith asked if he was racist.
That was a great interview.
Yeah, he was like, the people that I don't like are like middle-aged white liberal women.
Yes.
He's
He
like,
blamed them for everything.
yeah, he's like, that's the one I'm mad at. It's not race.
Right.
That they are an overwhelming an overwhelmingly large block of Democrat voters. So you look at this group, they're crying. They have no idea what they're crying about. Oh, the mean man said naughty words. Dude, when you've got murderous dictators, communist regimes, outright fascists, so they call Trump a fascist, but come on, he's not. And they're actually threatening us. You might want the potty mouth bully guy to go in there and, you know, shove someone around and be like, back off.
That was a thing I liked about Trump, you know. Trump is, as I've said before, he's the crazy guy on a corner with a knife. You stay away from him. you keep your distance.
Your
You're
house
like,
never gets
okay,
robbed.
It's okay.
It's like all of the buildings on the street are just like vandalized and looted, but there's one really nice one.
Yours is fine.
And they're just like, how come no one's robbing this building? It was a crazy guy on the corner with a knife.
I just keep feeding him steaks. It's fine. It works out.
One way to keep on. Like when he said he was going to nuke Beijing or Moscow.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
And you don't know. He might. He just might. That's the thing
scary.
with Biden now, right? Like, Biden is a dotty old man, and you have absolutely no confidence that he's going to do anything other than the most moderate, conciliatory, weak-ass move.
Yeah, I think he'll just be totally in line. I mean, I don't mean to kick him while he's down, but like, this guy got COVID after just getting COVID. Like,
Wow.
I don't really think that
He doesn't
Biden's
know
up
he's
to
down,
anything.
so
No, he's no
it's
idea.
okay.
He's like signing executive orders while locked in his bedroom. He's grounded. Like I don't know that.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.